Hello, everyone. So, they say that precious stones like gold, silver, diamonds, and the likes are usually found in depths of the earth or places where they belong to. So, it requires due diligence to seek them and then bring out the beauty in them. Well, same applies to wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. They are not easily fetched out. We require a lot of work to bring them from where they are hidden. This brings me to welcome you once again to the fifth edition of our webinar series, Understanding Quantity Surveying Profession is Applications, home and abroad, facet. Today, I'll be one of your hosts along with my other colleague. My name is Tawa Kali Tubisola Odubi. You can call me Tawa. We have live streaming and we're on YouTube, Facebook, and other social media handles. So feel free to chat on the box where you're watching from. Let me know what your expectations are. What do you want to learn? What questions do you have on ground? So from last year till now, we've discussed a series of topics. We started by having an overview of what sustainable construction is. We had Dr. Femi Balogun from Nigeria to anchor this. In the second edition of this webinar, we explored quantity surveying like a fruit salad, from various continents, from Australia to Africa and beyond. We wanted to know what are the peculiarities, what are the differences. We proceeded to the third webinar where we discussed the Internet of Things and how it relates to our profession. It was anchored by a professor from Australia, Professor Ibino, and then our own Moses Itonla. We moved on to the fourth webinar where we discussed the repository agreement of NIQS, which enhances QS migrants. Obviously, we're global citizens, so we can work anywhere, we can showcase our talents and proficiencies across the world. We had the NIQS president, QS Olayemi Shonubi, and then QS Bola Shotunde, who is NIQS SIA, who gave us various insights. In that same webinar, QS Toladun gave us overview of what our CVs should look like, a typical CV that has potentials of attracting employers across the world. Because this is the essence of our trainings, that we are not just local champions. In quote. Today, again, we're rounding up and we are looking at a very interesting topic which has to do with blockchain technologies. We have two erudite scholars, some a lot of publications you've read on these topics that have been coming from their research centers, their research circle, Dr. Ayode Joke and Dr. Loveline Obi from the UK. I'll give room to the other moderator now to just continue and give us further insight. Once again, welcome. I hope you have your coffee or tea or your snack nearby, and I hope you're willing to ask as many questions as you have. I have high expectations. Let me know what yours. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tawa. I've got a big chicken here. I will be taking along with soft drinks, because they're part of the blockchain system. And I believe we are all ready for this. Just before we continue, I just want to say a bit about the two speakers today. Bisola, they're really people I respect a lot. These are people who have really given their time, to look at every areas of sustainability and bring out something smart, which is called blockchain. And we're here to learn uh, about them today. So they are really prepared for us. I want to appreciate them for accepting our invitation. And I know we are all going to have a nice time. Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Olawale Solado. So over to you, Bisola.
Okay. We've had a run through of the program earlier on where we saw the outline. Now we're moving on to having our YQSF National Chairperson give his remark. I hope we can usher him on board now.
Yes, QS Stanley.
Okay, Stanley Oji.
Yeah, QS Stanley, we're waiting for you. Well, I think there is a lot of bad connection there. Maybe we'll have to um, get back to him. But before then, maybe we'll go on a short break and see if he'll be available after
Yeah,
the short
that
break.
works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, welcome back. We were about getting, we're having each getting in touch with the acting chairman, Young QS Forum of the Nigerian Institute of Quantity Surveyors. Uh, we lost him. I think he's gonna come back anytime soon. So, but without much ado, NIQS president also sent his regards. I think the YQSF acting chairman is going to do justice to both at the same time. So we will be going to the first paper, which is going to be presented by Dr. Ayodeji Oke. Let's listen to Dr. Oke's profile.
Oke Ayodeji Emmanuel is a quantity surveyor by training and a PhD holder in the same discipline. He bagged his BTech degree in quantity surveying from Federal University of Technology, Akure, Nigeria, with a first-class honors. He is a reviewer for various local and international reputable journals. He has over 250 publications in the area of sustainable infrastructure management, SIM, with focus on sustainable construction, quantity surveying, value management, and construction digitalization for IR. This includes research books such as Sustainable Value Management for Construction Projects, published by Springer Nature, Switzerland, Construction Digitalization, a Capability Maturity Model for Construction Organizations, published by Routledge Taylor and Francis, London, Sustainable Construction in the Era of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, published by Routledge Taylor and Francis, London, among others. He has supervised several students at undergraduate and postgraduate level. He has also won several awards, as well as training and fellowship grants, including the recent one as 2021 Best Lecturer at the Federal University of Technology, Akure, Nigeria. He is a corporate member of the Nigerian Institute of Quantity Surveyors, member of the Association of South African Quantity Surveyors, associate member of Industrial Engineering and Operations Management Society International, USA, registered member of Quantity Surveyors Registration Board of Nigeria, member of Nigerian Institute of Management, and member Board of Trustees, Sustainable Green Environment Initiative. He is currently a senior lecturer in Department of Quantity Surveying, Federal University of Technology, Akure, Nigeria. He is also a senior research associate at CIDB, Center of Excellence, University of Johannesburg, South Africa. It is a pleasure to have him deliver the topic, blockchain technology and its relevance to sustainable construction. Thank you.
Yeah, that's all about Dr. Okay, and we are going to enjoy his paper anytime soon. Welcome, Dr. Okay. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. And you?
Very good. Um,
Yeah.
you can have the floor now.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah. To people all over the world, I want to say thank you for the opportunity to present something on the blockchain at this point in time. And of course, I'll be talking about an overview of blockchain technology and its relevance to construction. That's we want to look at what blockchain is all about and what makes it important for us in the construction industry. So the outline we'll be looking at. Of course, the introduction, we are going to look at construction in digital age. We want to see the overview. That's like what blockchain is all about. We also want to see the concept and types of blockchain, blockchain for construction, and the benefits. Then we'll conclude in the next 20 to 30 minutes. I'm sure we'll be able to do justice to this particular area. Okay, so by way of introduction, we all know that the world has become a global village, and talking about that, we talked about digital world. And looking at digital world, that means everything revolves around everything. That means right from here, just like the way we're having our webinar now, can actually, connect, talk to ourselves, do things we are not able to do over the years. Uh, that's what we refer to as the world being global village. And what makes this possible is actually the concept of digitalization. And then looking at that, one of the things that so common around the world is the issue of change. In fact, things are changing and things will continue to change. But for us in the construction industry, we discovered that most time we're always latecomers when it comes to these changes. For instance, when we looked at the fourth revolution, it took us a long time. We went banking sector, manufacturing, and the rest, even next sector, when they have already embraced it, we were still trying to see how we can bring it into our industry. But of course, we have no choice if you still want to be part of the national economy or the general economy. So with this, of course, we welcome ourselves to the digital age. And as we're welcoming ourselves to the digital age, we should also have it in mind to start preparing for Industry 5.0. In fact, we need to start preparing because they're already here with us. Industry 5.0 is already here with us. Before now, people talked about 4.0 and it was everywhere, what's it all about and the rest. But according to some researchers from the late 2020, made to understand that we are now in the fifth industrial revolution. So looking at the revolution, we started from the Stone Age to the first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one, and the fifth one. Of course, for me and for us in the construction industry, to be sincere with ourselves, we are still in the fourth industrial revolution. I think there's one of our webinars when we are looking at the Internet of Things, and the Internet of Things actually belongs to the fourth revolution. But these days, we have actually moved beyond Internet of Things. I'm not talking about Internet of everything, and that is what brought us to 2020 industry. That's talking about mass customization, Internet of everything, not just Internet of Things anymore. Human being communicating with things, things communicating with human being, things communicating with things, human communicating with human, and all of that. So we need to brave up if you still want to be relevant in the industry. Now, talking about Industry 4.0 or 5.0 as the case may be, looking at what we have there, I'm sure this picture is no longer new to us. If you have been following news, if you have been following tech news, or you have been following recent development around us, the picture we are seeing is the Dubai Museum of the Future. And this is the reigning infrastructure development, that is like one in everybody. It was an awesome development. And people are like, how well, I mean, the first time I saw the picture, I was thinking maybe it's just a 3D or all those 5D design. Until I discovered that it was real, it has been constructed. And I have to go and check. I discovered that it's real. And of course, if you listen to documentary on this particular edifice, discover that everything revolves around what's it called? Construction revolution. You know, principle of being, bringing in cyber physical system, even the internal structure. Discover that everything is all about digitalization and water. So that's to let us know that we cannot shy away from revolution, even for us in the construction industry. And as things are moving, we're going at the days of internet. Yeah, still using the internet, but the fact remains that we are moving beyond the internet. Of course, internet is still the basis, the most important thing, but we are moving beyond the internet. Now talk about cyber physical system, internet of everything, mixed reality, and the rest of them. Okay. Now, for one of the things we need to consider in this era that we are, whether we call it fourth industrial revolution era, whereas some people believe we're already in the fifth revolution era. Either way, we can still talk about some of the techniques and some of the tools. Now, we talked about so many tools that are available and they're useful for us in this era. Talking about the augmented reality, I was talking about the mixed reality the other time, Internet of Things, now Internet of Everything, talking about machine learning, quantum computing, 3D printing, and the rest of them. Now, one of the tools or one of the technique that's available for us in this era is blockchain. So we want to look at blockchain, what's it all about, how is it relevant to us in construction, and of course we talked about the construction. Remember, we are looking at the AECO industry, that's architecture, engineering, construction, and the operation industry, because there is no way we can actually stand all alone as construction industry. All of this must actually work together. So looking at blockchain, what is blockchain? Now, I was able to come up with this definition looking at different concepts, different ideas, postulation, theories, and definition of blockchain around the world. And I was able to come up with this. That blockchain is actually has to do with databases. And please, I actually used another color for some of the important keywords. You know, he said it can be viewed as databases that enable various users to concurrently make changes to a ledger chain by consensus, thereby contributing to several iterations of the chain. I want to dwell a little more on this because this is the main thing. Now, it's not as if we have not been working on things before, because somebody were like, after all, we have been sending emails and we have been editing things. Even on our WhatsApp, somebody can send me a WhatsApp message and tell me, can you just let me look through? And I will copy, paste, and edit it, send back to the person. Of course, more or less like I'm also helping the person to make necessary changes. But in this case, we are looking at databases. That's talking about more than a database. When you have different databases, it can be domiciled anywhere around the world. And this database, not just there, it's not static. It's not static. It allows for people to actually come in and edit. And the next thing is that it enables various users from different parts of the world, users from whether within and without, users from anywhere. And that's one of the benefits of blockchain. Users can actually come in, and there's no restriction to number of users, of course, depending on the type of blockchain, which I'm still going to be talking about anyway. And one of the good things about blockchain is that it allows these users to concurrently, that means simultaneously, that means at the same time we can be making changes to databases at the same time. That means as user A is making his own change, user B can also be doing his own part. And for us in construction, when we talk about supply chain management, when we have different aspects of construction, so that means as one person is making changes to a particular area, that person is also making changes in another area. This is also applicable even in architecture. Can imagine maybe somebody is designing the floor, another person is designing the windows and the rest. That means you can be making changes to each of the databases at the same time. We make changes to ledger chain by consensus. So at this conceptually means that it's not just that I will just make changes and I believe that I've arrived. It's just all about me. Blockchain make it possible that as you are making your changes, there are others have the rights, others have the ability to also approve the changes you are making. And if the changes is not that okay, they can also make their own change. That means at the end, we are going to come to like a term and an agreement. And this will actually lead to several iterations of the chain. When you talk about iteration, like you're talking about several models, several opportunities. So that means as we have maybe model 1 and it's not okay, we make changes continuously. We have model 2. If it's not okay, just like when you are doing your regression equation and you want to do iteration, you can do inverse of log and all of that. So blockchain actually enable us or help us to actually do all of this. So that means by the time we are done, it's possible we have so many models or so many types of databases that has been edited, then we can come up with, okay, from what we can see, which one do you think is the best? Then we can go ahead with that. And of course, before we came into the program, I mean, one of the moderator was talking about Bitcoin and the rest. Of course, cryptocurrency is one of the, if not the primary application of blockchain, and this is experiencing an unprecedented rise recently. And of course, consumption is actually buying into it. Most time, like I said at the beginning, consumption is always the late comer, the industry. Most times, things that has been adopted in the banking industry, the health sector, the manufacturing sector, it always takes us time to actually bring into construction. Now, of course, we know that when it comes to cryptocurrency, go to the banking sector, in fact, health sector, this is the main thing. But for us, it's a matter of time. I was sitting to me, I think maybe January or sometime last year, when in China, I mean, one of the contractors, I think a contractor was actually asking the client to pay him using Bitcoin. That let us know that it's a matter of time. If it can get to the car industry, you can be sure that it's also with us right here. Okay, so that's that about what blockchain is all about. Remember, we said it's actually to do with databases and it enables various users. So that means at different times we can edit, we can make changes, we can make amends, but not that we just make amends and go at the end, we must actually come up with a consensus. Okay, so looking at the applications of blockchain, there are different areas of application of blockchain. Issue of Bitcoin comes in, digital ID card, enough of carrying hard copy ID card everywhere, digital ID card, blockchain can actually be used in that. In voting, I know in some countries they are already doing this. In healthcare, blockchain can be used in payments and transfers. You are already doing that even as far back as a few years ago now, where we can actually pay and transfer money using different platforms. Then in law, in law enforcement, entertainment, in banking, and the rest of them. But looking at blockchain, there are actually two major parts of blockchain application. We have the financial and the non-financial aspects. The non-financial aspect has to do with things like authentication. We talked about the real estate, the digital marketing, the smart contracts, and the rest of them. Of course, that is the non-financial aspect of blockchain application. When it doesn't have to really do with money. But of course, you know that all of these things at the end, money is still involved, but it's not directly doing with money. Like for instance, you want to authenticate things, that's not about money. That means to authenticate. For instance, if you have like 4 or 5 levels of authentication, blockchain can be adopted. So that means as somebody is finishing authenticating his own, then it can move to the next person. If the next person sees that what the initial person has done is wrong, actually call the attention of such a person to it, and of course it can look into it. So that's non-financial aspect of blockchain application. Then we have the financial aspect, and this one has to do with things like data storage. We talked about currency exchange. We talked about ride sharing, trading, gaming, and the rest. If I want to talk about the issue of gaming, which is actually a financial aspect, now there is a principle referred to as a gamification, and blockchain is one of the principles that can actually enable gamification. Just like when you're applying when you're applying like gaming theory in whatever you are doing. So that means as a client, I can sit down in my house. Architect will be in his office, the engineer, maybe the structural engineer will be in his office, and it just be like I'm playing game, and I'll be telling them my design. Then the architect will be coming up with that particular design, and the structural engineer will be coming up with the structural details and the rest. Then we can like, okay, no, this one will not work, this will work. And by the time you are done, that's actually financial. You can come up with the cost that will actually lead us to application of BIM, 4D, 5D, and the rest of them up to 60. Okay, so that's the blockchain application. Then the next thing we want to look at is the properties of blockchain technology. What makes blockchain blockchain, so that somebody will not just feel like there is nothing special about blockchain. Whatever I've been doing too, at least we have been sending mails around, we have been exchanging information. So what is the need for blockchain? Of course, there is always a need for blockchain. Now, one of the properties of blockchain is that it's actually programmable. And what we mean by this is programmable in terms of like smart contracts. You can program it. When you talk about program, maybe we talked about the basic programming language like BASIC, and the rest of them. So we can actually write a program for blockchain. Now, another thing is that it is secure, unlike chatting, unlike sending emails and the rest, because this is just about you. In fact, others may not even know anything is going on, except for people within the chain, people that are actually working on that particular thing. So to an extent, it's secured. All records are individually encrypted because as I'm working, it's secure from my end. So that means if at all is going to leak out, whatever we are doing, it must have leaked out from the people working on that particular chain on the databases, because no other person knows that we're actually doing anything as far as the blockchain is concerned. So that means it's secure. Then the issue of is also anonymous in the sense that the identity of the participant is either anonymous or pseudonymous. That means you can decide not to even know the identity of the participant depending on the arrangement. So that means somebody working from Australia, another person from US, another person from Nigeria, you may not even know who the person is. That is if that is the arrangement. So the issue of anonymity comes in. So even if I want to attack you, I don't even know who I'm attacking. Even if I see that what you are doing is wrong, I don't even know who is doing that particular wrong thing. So that's one of the properties of blockchain. The issue of distribution comes in because all network participants have a copy of the ledger for complete transparency. So it's not as if a particular person will keep a section to himself. They just like what we are experiencing now when the architect is the almighty for drawings and the rest, he will keep a section to himself before sending it to the QS. In this case, QS can actually have inputs right from the time architect is preparing his drawing. Architect see it as no big deal. And that's also let us know that when QS is also preparing his own bill of quantity as well as his cost related document, architect can also have input. Why don't we go this way? So nobody see it as if why are you challenging my authority? This is my area, this is my field. We allow people to actually come in and aid whatever we are doing. Then we talked about the issue of immutability. Cannot be. So that means I cannot go back to, because I feel that so what we did 2 days ago, except I seek the consent, consent of other people, then I will not be able to change anything. So it's not something that somebody can just go and tamper with. Once we have agreed and we have moved past that particular stage, then we are done. We go to the next stage. Then it's time stamped. A transaction timestamp is recorded on a block. So that means once we are done, it's going to like give you the time we have finished that particular task. So that means in the nearest future, maybe even in the next 10, 20 years, you can always go back and like, okay, when did we agree on this? Then we can always go back and check. The time will be there. And of course, we'll know the time we agreed on that particular thing. So those are the properties of blockchain technology. Then we have the types. There are three major types of blockchain technology, although some school of thought actually put it into two. But I think majority of the authors as well as the publishers have actually preferred to put it in three major areas. Now, for the school of thought that believe that it's just they believe that it's just about public and private. And if you look at it too, it's also a bit logical to just have public and private blockchain. But of course, the other school of thought believe that there should be consortium blockchain. So when it comes to public blockchain, so that means in this case, anybody from anywhere can actually access it. And for such, that means no longer secure because anybody from anywhere can access it. That means a million people can be working on it at a time because it's public. And when you call something public, of course, anybody from anywhere, even people that knows nothing about what you are doing, can also have access once they get a link to that particular thing you are doing. But when it comes to private, of course, we expect that it has to do with a single organization because we call it private. When it comes to like a consortium, it's possible you have uh, a work that actually has to do with so many organizations, so different multiple organizations coming together to actually access it. Then when it comes to the participants, for the public blockchain, to an extent, is permissionless. There's no permission. Once I just see it and I feel that I can come in and get in my own input, I will just go ahead and put in my input. And of course, it's anonymous. You may not even know the person. You may not even know where the person is coming from. That's public. When it comes to private, of course, you have to give people permission before they can get in and do whatever changes they want to make. Then, in that case, you also know the identities of whoever because I don't want to actually give them permission. So that means the identities of the participants are known. The same thing is applicable to the consortium type of blockchain. When it comes to security, and they're talking about public blockchain, of course, it has to do with consensus mechanism, proof of work, proof of stake, and the rest of it. Because you are talking about people from different spheres of life, people from different regions, people from different areas. Now imagine you are in construction, somebody from chemistry is saying he has inputs, and you don't even know who the person is because remember, for the participants, you may not even know them. So in that case, to an extent, security may be compromised. When it comes to private blockchain to an extent. You are the one that have pre-approved the participant. So that means to a large extent, security may not actually be compromised. Okay. Then it allows for voting and multi-party consensus, because you are talking about private blockchain, and the same thing is applicable for the consortium blockchain. When it now comes to transaction speed, because when you have multiple people using the same or working on the same database at the same time, you expect such database to be slow. So when it comes to public blockchain, in terms of the speed, it can actually be slow. That's why sometimes in some banking sector, when it's time for students to resume, all of them are paying at the same time. Well, it can actually take time for your payment to be processed. Why? Because of the speed and because of the number of people making use of it at the same time. When it comes to private blockchain, it can just be 2 or 3 people working in that particular environment. So it can be lighter, as well as it can be faster. And the same is also applicable for the consortium blockchain. Now, blockchain and construction, these are the areas where blockchain are applicable in the construction industry. We talked about asset management. Now, asset management has to do with management of properties, assets generally. And looking at blockchain, that means it's not compulsory for the owner of the asset to be where you are. It can also be a member. It can be one of the participants when it comes to the blockchain management, and you can actually help him or her to manage his assets using blockchain technology. I mentioned supply chain management the other time, and in construction, construction has to do with supply chain, because we deal with a lot of people, right from the manufacturer to the supplier, material, the labor, different material suppliers. So blockchain can actually be used to manage supply chain. Then we talked about document and information management. And this is one of the key areas in construction: managing documents, managing information. And in construction industry, we have a lot of information, starting from a pre-construction stage, right from the time the client signifies his intention, maybe to have a project, to the time possibly the project manager or the architect, whosoever is taking brief from the client, trying to know, the mindset of the client, the intention of the client, before now talk about all the designs and the rest. So blockchain can actually be used to help, and it can actually help in managing information and documents. Payment management, this is like the key area of blockchain management, blockchain technology. Payment management can actually manage payments from clients to the contractor to different suppliers, contractors to different subcontractors, and the rest of them. Blockchain is actually useful for this. And they're looking at what I've listed earlier. All of this has to do with construction management, because in construction, whatever we are doing has to do with management. Right from the time we are taking brief from the client to the time we are trying to put it in form of a drawing, it's still about management. In fact, everything we do in construction, in fact, everything we do in life has to do with management. So blockchain can actually aid construction management. It can also help in building maintenance management. I want to submit at this point that it's better uh, blockchain will be more useful for building maintenance if it has actually been used prior to or when the project is actually going on. Most time it becomes difficult when the project has been completed to start inputting all the data about the project. But if it has been part of the project right from the very beginning, for instance, if you have made use of maybe BIM from the beginning of the project, it makes it easier to actually transfer data, and blockchain can be used for that purpose. Then we have the energy management. We also talked about embodied carbon management. We actually included this because these days we talked about the issue of sustainability, and then we talked about sustainability without talking about energy, carbon emission, and the rest of them. So blockchain can actually be used in doing this as well. At this point where we are talking about cap, when United Nations is proposing that for a particular area there will be a cap. We now talked about the cap and trade method, where, for instance, if this is the maximum emission given to in that particular area, the question: how do we manage it? How do we know that you have exceeded the cap given unto you? So blockchain technology can actually be used for this purpose. What are the benefits of a blockchain? There are so many of them, and they are enormous. So I will just go through the list that we have there. Number one is that it's flexible, because different people from different area can work. All I just need to do is to know what database you are working on, what is it all about. So that means as a quantity surveyor and you're working on bill of quantity, maybe you are talking about a multi-billion naira project like that, and we have different aspects, different sector. Somebody can be working on section A, or maybe part A of the project, another person working on part B of the project. Flexibility comes in. Then transparency, in the sense that whatever you are doing, I can actually have access to it. Of course, remember that will depend on the type of blockchain, that is public or private anyway. Then it's going to reduce transaction cost. Imagine before now where you have to like work on project, print, get it across to the other person, then the other person will have to start checking from the very beginning. As you are finishing with foundation, someone else can pick it up and look at it. So it can actually reduce transaction costs. We also talk about faster transaction settlements. These days, when as you are sending your money, the other person is receiving it. Gone are the days when you have to wait for some hours before the money gets to the other person's account. There are so many systems now that actually enables payment. So it also allows for decentralization, user control network, and the rest of them. Then efficiency, auditability, and traceability. You can actually trace wherever the money is coming from and where it's actually going to. Then it allows for security, especially if you are using private types of blockchain. Then it allows for automated operations because everything is automated. So it's not as if it's something I would just have to begin or start writing codes in order to make sure it works. It has been automated. Then it's open. So that means I can actually open it to another person. And the auditor can come at any point in time to check what we have done so far. Then we talked about distributed architecture as well as flexibility. Then I also decided to bring in benefits of this same blockchain with IoT, you know, Internet of Things, because there's no way you will talk about blockchain without all this Internet of Things, the artificial intelligence, which is the basic principle for all the 4IR principles we talked about. And by the time you bring in IoT, of course, it's allowed for cost saving, it's allowed for speed, for security, anonymity, and the rest of them. Like we discussed earlier, one of the key principles or properties of blockchain is that it allows for anonymity. You may not even know who is working on whatever database from the other end, and it also allows for security. Okay, in conclusion, yeah, the world globally is witnessing a transition in businesses, and of course, you see that so many people from different parts. Sometimes ago, we saw Tesla trying to go into Bitcoin and the rest. Transition in businesses, and digital technologies like blockchain technology are key for this digital age. And in so doing, blockchain has the potential to redefine virtual trust and eliminate intermediaries. So for us in construction, blockchain is actually an innovative tool. It can influence the improvement as well as transition in the construction industry. So I want to admit and encourage each and every one of us, as you are trying to transit from fourth revolution to fifth revolution, let's pay attention to blockchain. Thank you for listening.
Wow, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. This is a very, very awesome topic, and in fact, it's just like I've received a 5 years lecture in just 30 minutes or less than 30 minutes. And I want to appreciate you for that erudite uh, discussion, erudite discussion and everything you talked about. Uh, Tower, why don't you carry the way?
I had my jotter full of notes, questions, and the inquisitive part of me has so much questions to ask. And I would also think that a lot of our viewers across the world, it's either they're trying to still assimilate all that they've heard, or they have questions they want to ask. So I'm encouraging everyone who has questions, comments, or you need clarity on some things that are said, please type in on the chat box, and then we will discuss this further. I mean, one of the key things that I'm taking away from this is that we are evolving and we'll keep evolving. He made a statement, Dr. Ken made a statement that even these technologies, these applications that we're talking about, is already being used in other industries. And the construction industry is a slow adopter. So while we know that this is true, do you want to tell us why you think we have not evolved so far? Why are we still behind? I mean, we talk a lot. We talk a lot. What's happening? Just an insight.
Okay, yeah, it's fine. The way the industry is structured, the industry is more of it's actually labor intensive right from very beginning, traditionally and conventionally. Russian industry is actually labor intensive. It's about people. It's not really about the technology. It's not really about the system. For instance, even if you introduce robots in the construction industry today, people will tell you when you have a lot of laborers that need job, go to places like India, Palace, even Nigeria. They will tell you, people, labor, that's one of our, our strengths. So trying to bring in tech, and there's no way you bring in technology. Of course, it's going to eliminate some laborers, of course, at the same time bring in some new people. That's number one. Then number two is the fact that for most of us, especially in the industry, we are too focused on our traditional way of doing things. If you ask a quantity surveyor, for instance, it's about my bill of quantity, and I want to prepare it manually. I want you to have the hard copy, and if I'm giving you my soft copy, more or less like I'm giving you myself. So I think professionally too, we have not evolved. So before we talk about the industry, let's talk about ourselves individually, right from students to professionals to lecturers. Each and every one of us, we like to do things in our own way. And another thing is that we don't have anything challenging us. To be sincere, we don't have anything challenging us in the industry. Look at the banking sector. Imagine 1,000, 20,000 people in the banking sector at the same time. That means there is something challenging in the banking sector to actually look for solution. But for us, even if you have 3, 4, 5 clients, you just tell them, do your own project to be completed at so time. For your own project, so time. You have no choice than to accept, except you do for someone else. So we have some of these challenges, but I want to be that the way out is one of the things we are doing now. I'm sure by the time we take it up, each and every one of us, and we start seeing how we can incorporate this in our day-to-day activities. I'm sure the industry will buy into it and will be good for it. Yeah.
Oh
Okay.
wow, that's
Yeah,
that's a
that was
very
quite.
very
Yeah, go on,
um
Tosin.
yeah, I'm quite blown away. Looking at the sector we belong in, and being slow adopters. Well, there are a lot of questions I have here, but I would like to say we will receive questions from all the audience, and I will probably take them together so that we can have a glass cup of water at least.
Okay.
Uh, thank you very much. Um,
Yeah. Thank you.
yeah, so I think we'll have the acting chairman of YQSF to give us a speech. If at all he has something small to say, by now he will have a whole higher education full of message to deliver. Oh, Stanley, how are you? Over to you, Stanley. Yep, you're
I'm
live now.
fine. Good afternoon, everyone, and I'm on program. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I appreciate everyone for making out time for this program. So sorry, the first time that I was asked to come online, my network just developed fault, and I've been trying all means to join back, but it happens that the network could not be favorable. I sincerely apologize for that. And sorry that I have to quickly set out because I have a MRC class too in Lagos chapter, and that is why you see me, I'm no longer at home. But as the YQSF in diaspora for this wonderful initiative, this one of its kind, where we have people participating in an event like this. And today, the events have always been thought-provoking and even today own because it have always been on e-business. How can we better ourselves as QS? How can we be more professional in all that we do? And today program will be focusing more on blockchain and the other sector. Dr. K have spoke so large about the blockchain, which is a new innovative that, when they talk about different appliances, different IT system coming up on board, in Nigeria, yes, we are just trying to catch up and we have no option. There will definitely be a time for us to catch up with that industry because it's coming to us. PIM is already here, blockchain is already here, several other innovative that will transform the industry is already close to us. So it's for us to now make up our mind to join the moving train we should not just relax and feel that, oh, this thing is far away from us. It's already close by. People are already using it, and people will definitely continue to use it. So please pay keen attention. And Mr. President also sent his remark. He's always a friend to the young ones, but because of other engagement at the Secretariat, he was not able to also be here to give his presidential address. So we sincerely apologize for that on his behalf too. And we hope that subsequently he will be with us live and do the broadcast and always encourage us, the young one, because we are the one have the innovative. We want to partner with the institute because we have the numbers, and we're hoping that what with the institute and with the young ones, different innovative we have in terms of technology, in terms of the strength, the numerical strength and everything, we utilize it for the betterment of the profession and the betterment of the institute. Thank you. Please pay attention, ask your question, and feel free to interact. Thank you, Tosin, for the wonderful job you have been doing in the diaspora, and every of the team members, and for all the YQSF, and for all the NIQS, and for all the participants, we say thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Stanley. That's very dedicated of you. Thank you very much for bringing us message from the chairman and the president. I wish you the best in the class you're going to take. All right. I would like to I appreciate and recognize some of our great colleagues in this institute. I want to appreciate the presence of Dr. Femi Balogun, who has been following since the webinar one. I want to recognize the presence of QS Pastor Akiyede, a former chairman of NIQS Ondo State chapter. I want to recognize the presence of Dr. Lukman Oyewobi from Federal University of Technology, Mina. I believe we are very, very grateful for you being following us and being our guide in this assignment. Likewise, I want to recognize the participation of the immediate past chairman of the YQSF national chairman, in person of QS Ayodele Faleye. And I want to also recognize the presence of former chairman YQSF, NIQS, in person of QS Adebola Adeyera. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for doing that. And now we'll go for a brief break. But please, if you have any questions on the topic that has been delivered, drop them in the chat box. Either you're watching from Facebook, or you're watching from LinkedIn, or you're watching from YouTube. Just type in your questions. We'll have them and we'll give to the speakers to have a look at. Now we go on a break, and after the break we'll be back for the second session, which is going to be delivered by Dr. Loveling Obi. So have a lovely time. Take a sip of water. We'll be back soon. Thank you. Yeah, welcome back from the very short break. I will bring in the second speaker, and while she's on, we will be. You're you're welcome, Dr. Lovely. How are you?
I'm
uh,
fine, thank you. Thank you.
yeah, thank you very much. I'm going to give your profile at the moment, and in the interim, you can. Okay, I can see your slide here now. Yeah, but let's listen to Dr. Lovely's profile.
Loveland Obi is an experienced senior lecturer in quantity surveying with over a decade of experience in higher education. She leads the quantity surveying programs at the University of Wolverhampton and maintains an active teaching, research, and leadership role. She is directly involved in curriculum design and delivery of various construction programs and is currently developing structural and implementation frameworks for delivery of degrees, apprenticeship programs in the built environment. Her research interests cover people and process-related aspects of the built environment, including education and skills development. She has contributed to more than 20 publications in various international journals and conferences in areas of built environment education, sustainability, circular economy, building information modeling, and construction project management. She is currently a co-investigator on 2 research grants with a combined value of up to £1.5 million, focused on green buildings and off-site construction, funded by the Qatar National Research Fund and UKRI Innovate UK grants, respectively. Before joining the academia, she worked in various capacities within the construction industry as a contractor, quantity surveyor, client quantity surveyor, and construction manager across a variety of residential, commercial, and institutional projects. She continues to engage with industry partners and researchers developing networks at regional, national, and international levels. Her current research interests are in digital construction, projects and construction management, building information modeling, off-site construction, sustainability, and built environment education. We are happy to have her deliver the topic on the relevance of blockchain to quantity surveying practice. Happy listening. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a very big profile. Yeah, very.
We're still trying to work on it. We're
Yeah,
still very
yeah.
humble, working hard.
That's great. Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity, to participate to come and deliver this topic. The floor is yours now. I think we have your slide. I guess it's displaying now.
Yeah. So thank you, everybody. I would say it's a privilege to be here, to share, to learn, and to be a part of this great community. Thank you for the opportunity, and thanks to everyone that have joined in to listen. My name is Loveland, and I'll be presenting blockchain technology and its application to an in-quantity surveying practice. So like you will agree with me and the previous speaker, the construction industry is fast changing. And it's not just changing, backwards, it's actually forerunning. And we as QSs really, really need to catch up to see how we can improve both our knowledge, our skills, and our behavior to fit into this rapid change in the construction industry. As quantity surveyors, we know that we have expertise in terms of our responsibilities and the services that we provide to I would say the client, and more than the client, the wider aspect of the construction industry. Now if you look at the screen, you can see some of the various areas I've just catched up in terms of the services and responsibilities that we provide. within construction projects and even within organizations as QSs. We've got project and program management, which of course we were more into management practices. We look at costs, yes. We look at finances, yes. And we look at contracts. So contract administration and management is also a key area in terms of the services we provide and the responsibilities, we're expected to undertake. Cost accounting, has been, one of the key areas, particularly related to financing and budgeting, that we're taking a lot of responsibility in delivering within the construction environment. Feasibility studies are things that we provide to clients as well as the project team to support initiatives and decisions regarding different types of projects that might need to be executed. Cost modeling, planning and estimating is also a key area that we as QSEs have in the time past, even in the nearest future, will continue to update and improve and provide services all around. Contract documentations, whether it's providing bill of quantities, developing schedule of rates, or however it is, are things that it's in the past. It's not going to live. Like people will say, oh, don't worry, we're not going to be doing that anymore. No, it will still be there, but yes, it might be a little bit more underpinned with a lot of digital technologies. Then we've got procurement and contractual arrangement, tendering and all of that are some of the key areas as well in terms of sustainable procurement that we will need to engage. We know we're currently engaging in that, but these are key areas that will be very, very demanding for us in the future. And having all these areas that we need to provide services for, it's very, very important that we know that it's not just developing one skill. It's not just having one area of knowledge. It's not just having a particular behavior. It has to be a fast evolving behavior. It has to be a fast developing skills that would appreciate technology, skills that will make us become what is fit and what the industry is requiring from us. With QSs and trying to execute all these roles and responsibilities that I've highlighted, we have some challenges, if you will agree with me. Collaboration is one of the key issues we have as QSs. Now, collaboration between ourselves, whether it's within the organization, collaboration with other construction professionals in the field. For example, you look at a simple project, you have some clients to deal with. Now, when I mean clients, I don't just mean the employer to the project. I also mean every other person or every other professional that we render services to. So that would be architects, designers, as long as they will benefit in our services to improve their work. We can look at them as clients in this case. Now we need to collaborate with them. That is not very easy. Well, great goodness, we've got BIM. BIM will facilitate collaboration. We agree. However, there are still hitches around it. Supply chain management, the previous speaker did highlight about this. These are key areas that we're having, challenges to deal with. How do we resolve all the flow of every single participant, whether it's organizations or individuals, along which have contributing one level of information, one level of service to the other on the project? How do we manage them more effectively? The issues of transparency are quite challenging for us. Sometimes you get contractors say, oh, this part of my particularly when dealing with offsite materials, for example. Oh, we have this materials offsite. You have to say, oh, bring the receipt, bring the invoices. You have to determine some of those things. Sometimes you be perplexed by what you will see, and you'll be wondering why try to be not to be transparent about this. Issues of transparency are very much challenge for us. Payment is one of the key areas that is always a fast evolving area for us in terms of challenges. You try to deal with payment issues one time, the next time is come out in a different light again. Record keeping, particularly in reference to auditing, looking at major public sector projects, even private sector projects now are beginning to require the need that after we have completed and handed over, there is auditing process to see how the project has gone, how money has been expended on the project, how does it correlate, with the previous budget or maybe cost plans that have been developed. Timely information. Sometimes we just need information. There could be variations on the project. Variations orders are coming in. Contractors are already running up to complete that on site. We are still in the lag. What's happening? Communication, not really as strong as we want. So timely information is a problem. Centralization is another key aspect. It's like one person makes the decision, project manager makes the decision, and every other person just have to wait for that one person to give the authority and the go ahead. These are some of the issues that we have as challenges that is affecting our practices as QSs. Now, I pick one of them as an example, late payment, which is, of course, associated with payment issues. It still takes about an average of 30 to 90 days, sometimes actually more than that, for most contractors in the construction industry to get paid after work has been completed. Now, there are so many contributors to that, but believe me, the fact that we have up to 30 to 90 days will definitely affect the cash flow of contractors. Now, cash flow resulting in late payments or resulting from late payments are some of the great issues that is affecting the construction industry, particularly construction organizations. And many of our construction organizations, looking at so many projects that we've dealt with, are mainly SMEs. And withdrawing and having cash flow issues, late payments piled up can affect, them. It can be very, very damaging for them. In this case, you have so many of them closing up, so many of them folding up. Why? Because there is no appropriate cash flow. It affects the project. It affects the organization. This is just one example of some of the issues that affect us. Now, we have then looked into how can we improve our practices as QSs. The previous speaker highlighted the impact of technology. Yes, technology has come in, it's moved. We now have building information modeling coming in, blockchain and smart contracts are there, Internet of Things are there. And all of this is to ensure that we as QSs, we don't just only focus on just cost. It's beyond cost. It's about optimizing the cost process or the cost management process. It's about value maximization. So those are the key things we as QSs now need to do. But to achieve that, we have looked at digital technology as the way out. If we can underpin our practices on this, then of course we can move forward. One key area is blockchain technology. Now, the previous speaker have tried to highlight, talk in details around blockchain technology, what it's all about, give us an overview of it. Just to, to just refresh our minds back to it. Blockchain technology is a system. It's a system of recording information. It's a system that promotes trust of participants. It's a system that promotes data security within a network. Now, importantly, somebody is wondering, how does that have any impact for a QS? It does in so many, many ways. Record keeping, information management is one of the key responsibilities that we have as QSs. We sit on, I like to call it, we sit on the platform to manage people, to manage information that impact on processes and outcomes. So it's important that we've got information. It's important that we can manage information effectively, and it's important that we can secure those information so that if anybody comes back to have a look how that particular process have gone through, we can, look up and say, well, look at the trajectory of the information. This is when it came in. This is when it was processed. This is when it went out. And that's one thing that the blockchain technology can provide to us. Now, moving forward, blockchain, we understand is digitized. Decentralized, that's one of the key aspects, and I think the previous speaker did highlight about this. It has to be decentralized. It's not just only the project manager or whoever is leading the project, the architect, having all that information. No, it's decentralized. It is having that information in several other points. Every participant has the same information. Why? Because every participant is in consensus, is in agreement with any information that needs to be executed. And that's the beauty of blockchain. If, for example, a variation is coming in, it's not just you're waiting for the variation to come in because the architect has to approve it. No, it has to be triggered. The architect might trigger it, but then while it is triggered, it is broadcasted to every single person at that permitted level that has an input to making the decision for the variation. So the QS is aware just like the architect is aware, the client is aware, the contractor is aware, everybody is aware. And at that point, like the previous speaker said, there is a need to then have a consensus. Is this variation order, is it really relevant? This potentially might be the cost implications for these things. And there is a consensus whether to move that variation order forward to be implemented or not. Now, these are some of the things that the platform, the blockchain technology platform can provide for us in terms of decision making. Now, let's have a look around the futures and see how that contributes. The previous speakers have highlighted, quite a lot around this area, but I'm trying to relate it to the QS practice. He said it can be programmable, but the key aspect I'm looking in there is the part of trust and security and the aspect of traceability and auditability. Now, those are the two key aspects for us as QSs, for example, in what blockchain might provide. Now, you've got trust and security. Remember, the client trusts in the capacity and the expertise of a QS. Now, to be able to make information that will impact on budget, information that will impact on cost optimization. Now, that trust is very, very important. Why is it so? Because for every decision, for every transaction triggered, for every information that has been released within the network, it has to be informed by the decision to support the client's realization in terms of the goals that the client has. Now, nothing can be shady around that network when you're using blockchain. You cannot have a subcontractor and another subcontractor deciding on something to implement into the project that other key project participants are not aware of. Now, traceability, I will come to that in my subsequent slide. It's about ability to know where things are. For example, materials. You want to go into site, you want to find out what is happening on site. What are the materials available for site if in the event you're looking into interim valuations, for example, and you're trying to figure out materials on site. Now, with blockchain, you're able to see it. Why? Because the supplier is also a part of the chain, is a part of the network. So you can see when the material has left the supplier's depot, when it was on site, when it has been used. So you can trace where it is. So even if a contractor comes in and says, well, we have expended 80% of materials, so we need to be paid for that. You don't just need to look at the bills to figure that out. You've got the ledger, the blockchain is there. You can see the traceability. You can know, okay, it moved from this is the quantity or percentage of material that moved in from the supplier, that moved it into the site, and while the progress of work was happening on site, this is the amount of materials that has been used. So it's easier, to look within the platform to be able to extract those information. So let's just carry on, looking at blockchain technology. It makes it difficult or impossible to change anything. The previous speakers highlighted this. So if there was a decision, for example, for a particular work to be expended or to be undertaken as a result of any variation that has been, introduced into the project, and then in the long run there is an argument around, contractor coming to say, well, I didn't get that information, well, I didn't see the document, and all of that. That can easily, be looked into, because whilst the transaction process was happening for that information, for that variation order to be executed, there has been a consensus somewhere. So that consensus across all the participants is this variation is needed, and yes, it should be implemented, and this is the time it was implemented. So there is an easy way to see that that was in consensus. So nobody can wake up tomorrow. For example, the architect cannot wake up tomorrow and say, well, what happens is I want to change it. In order to change that variation, it still needs to be, at least you need to get more than 50% of the people within the network to agree with that change. So it's very, very difficult, meaning there is a timestamp attached to it. So everybody needs to be very careful in terms of the decisions that or initiations of transactions of information that needs to come into the system. And these have to be agreed by everybody before it is, of course, credited or before it is actioned. And this is something that is very, very important aspect of blockchain technology that is producing and contributing to our QS practice. So in terms of what are the key areas that this can, dive into, we've got interim valuations, we've got cost reporting and transparency, we've got variations, claims, data management, material passport, supply chain management, the fact that you can make changes without permissions, fund management, contract management, collaborations are some of the areas that blockchain can be applicable to within the context of QS practice. So say, for example, I pick the one on claims. How does the blockchain, support evaluating claims? I will use liquidated and asserted damages as an example. If there has been from the beginning, say, for example, you have 1,000 naira for every time the contractor exceeds the particular duration for that project, which has been set from the beginning, is coded into the blockchain using smart contracts. Now, there is an insurance somewhere by the contractor that if I don't complete this work at so time, there is an insurance policy that has been taken off. And that is also coded into the blockchain saying, so if by, say, for example, the 1st of March, the project should have been handed over, the contractor should have finished. If from the 15th of March, this has not been done, then from the 15th of March, every single day, the contractor will need to pay 1,000 naira as damages to the client. Now, if all of that has been coded into the blockchain through smart contracts, what happens is this. Now, when the contractor doesn't complete and it's part of the contractor's fault, and it gets to that particular day, it will trigger from the insurance company to start paying the client 1,000 naira each day that job is not completed. Now, you can see that it shrinks the process straight away. There is peace of mind with the client. The contractor himself is put in a place where, remember, this is automated, so I need to make sure that I complete this project within time. So it's a way to build the contract system, particularly for us in terms of contract management, to ensure that different aspects of the contract can be coded in through smart contracts to automate payments at different stages. Another simple example is in terms of milestones. So you've divided the project into different milestones. So once you complete substructure or foundation, so amount is released. Once you complete the walls on the superstructure, so amount is released to the contractor. Now, if that is coded into the blockchain, how will blockchain facilitate that? As long as that condition is met, if the contractor sends to the network, I have completed this work. Now, there has to be verification. The QS verifies, the architect verifies, everybody that has got the authority to verifies, and it's approved and locked in. What happens? It triggers payment straight from the client's allocated POS or wallet, straight into that of the contractor. What happens? The back and forth issues of, oh, you need to wait for 21 days, you need to wait for 30 days, all of that is shrink and cut short. Why? Because the system has now been automated. And these are some of the applications where you've got blockchain in our practice as QSs. Now, moving forward, how does it work? I've tried to kind of literally talk about this, how it works. There's always a transaction request from someone or a participant within the network. That could be the contractor, the subcontractor, depending on how that particular blockchain network has been designed. It can be from the client, maybe paying off. It can be from the QS. It can be from any of the consultants. There is a transaction request. Now, that transaction request forms a block. A block is created. There is a time tag to it, a timestamp to it, details of who originated it, where it's going to, what is it all about, and encrypted, with a particular code that no one can just wake up to change. And that moves into, it's broadcasted. So once that transaction request is done, it creates a block, is broadcasted to everybody that has got a permission to view that transaction request. Then the participant will validate the transaction. Now, this transaction can be money, it can be information. So transaction doesn't just mean money. It could be just information that needs to go into that ledger or into that framework or network, as the case may be. Now, once all the key permitted participants, or if all of them are allowed to, have validated it, what happens then is that the block is added to the chain. So for each information on that project, it creates a block. A block keeps adding. So the more the information and the transaction and the request coming on, it keeps forming a chain of block. Now, what happens once that block has been added to other information on the project? It is then distributed back to everybody that has got permission, that has participated in that. So everybody has a copy. So the architect cannot say, I didn't send it. Said, no. This has been broadcasted. I have this information. You gave this information. So we're working on this. The contractor is working on it. And that is how that blockchain process, in terms of the technology and how it flows with instructions, works. Now, let's look at the key areas we can apply this as QSs. I've highlighted a few of them, but I will just focus on a few areas. One, in terms of payment, it can be used to initiate payments. Why? Because it's based on digitally approved work that have met set of conditions through smart contracts actions. Now, what does it say? If you've got, like I said, if you've got a project, you set it up on a timeline, set it into a smart contract system. What happens? You can initiate payments once that work has been done. Now, it's digitally approved. Remember, it's a request. Oh, I've completed it. That's a contractor sending a request. And then there is that validation. And once if it's automated, using smart contract to automate payment, once it is approved, it triggers and it pays off. So there is no need for back and forth with, you need to then go and sit together, on site and view things. Yes, that's also important. But the entire process is reduced by more than 3/4 of the time. So it's easier if, for example, there is a BIM model, if the BIM has been used to facilitate the development of the bill of quantities, for example, and you've put that along an operational baseline on site to start using to monitor work progress. Now, as the work is completed on site, there is a sign-off, digital sign-off. The contractor has completed the work. The QS can ascertain that the work has been done. Interim valuation can be raised. Variation certificates can be issued by the architect, trigger smart contract, and then the contractor is paid off. Now, you can see how the whole of this blockchain can support very swift payment within the network. Another part with payments that, that I really like to look into is cost scheduling aspect of it. Now, you can have maybe labor, material, everything that is needed, resources or plants on site. I use, for example, workers on site. They have the ID card, like the previous speaker did highlight. And once that is coded into the blockchain, it's easier to determine. Once they swipe it in, it starts reading how many hours that particular worker was on site doing work. Some of them would just wear, they could also be using smart watches that reads, and that is also connected to the blockchain network that reads how long that particular worker has been, productive within that time. Once they leave the site, they swipe out, and then it records, if they've been on site for 8 hours, conditions met, site on 8 hours, what happens? It triggers payment. And then, of course, that particular worker is paid. Now, the one beautiful thing about blockchain is you can develop it how large you want it to cover, how small you want it to cover, and you can have permissions at different levels depending on how you want to design it. Another key area, to look into when we're looking at blockchain is also in terms of project management. Now, it supports real-life performance measurement. you can, if you have used BIM, building information modeling, to code in, and you've got your 5D BIM connected to your 4D BIM, so you've got the timeline of the project connected to the cost scheduling of the project. If all of that is built and you've got a plugin directly for blockchain technology within the system, it's easier to monitor real-time performances on the project. You can begin to look at your KPI. Or it records it directly and broadcasts it to everybody. So each day you can see if you're tracking it using the BIM model, maybe Navisworks or any of them, to track your work. It's able to say, okay, this particular day, 1% of the work has been done. Within the 1% of the work, 90% of the work is remaining. This is the total amount that comes up to. Then if that is achieved, it triggers payment. If, of course, you have actually, coded it into a smart contract, it triggers payment. But it allows you to be able not just to, the BIM network allows you to view, the blockchain will allow you to record the progress of work on site, and that can be broadcasted to clients. So client can see real time what is happening with the progress of the work without you, preparing financial reports, and they can see what is happening on site. It's very, very transparent. Like the previous speaker mentioned, is very, very transparent. Everybody can see what everybody is doing. So, for example, if you've got a material passport, which of course blockchain supports, material passports, it's moving from the raw material section to production. It moves from production and manufacturing to transportation. It moves from transportation to site delivery. It moves from site delivery, and then they're using it for construction. Now, all that different process, you can easily have the transparency to view. Why? Because the supplier is sending out a transaction notification. This needs to be done. I'm sending this to site. Everybody approves. So you can see how every single thing is moving. By the time it gets to the manufacturing or the supply, that comes up. If it gets to site again, that comes up and is approved. And you can see everything is just working around the network. And the more the information is being approved, the more the pile of information that is being managed and recorded within that blockchain network. Issues around design decision, tendering processes, continuous project updates, automated administration, accountable collaboration. These are some of the key aspects that we can apply blockchain to in regards to our QS practice. And we also have got supply chain management. We can verify chain of custody. This is very, very important. Particularly with issues surrounding materials off-site and on-site, this can easily be verified. Even you don't need to go to site. Because a contractor cannot say, well, I've got these materials in the suppliers, because if the supplier has not raised a transaction request that the material has been supplied, then that means it's not at the suppliers. So of course the contractor cannot say, oh, it's at the supplier, when that supplier has not raised that request. So it's easy to man what has actually, what the contractor actually has offsite can then be monitored. Now, information can be traced, which is very, very important in terms of our practices as QSs. Now, this disruptive innovation, which is blockchain, you can see that it's got a lot of advantages. It's got opportunities for us. It can facilitate our effective collaboration, transparency, automated repeat orders, mitigate risks and fraudulent, transactions, and create material passports to ensure regulatory compliance in the supply chain. However, it also has its problems. It's very, very difficult in terms of cost and time to put it together, which means it's better off for repetitive arrangements. So it's not something for one little project you need to use. You have to ensure it's more advantageous when you're looking at repetitive agreements, and it's something that we need to keep at the back of our mind. Issues with internet connectivity is very, very important with blockchain technology. It takes a lot of energy. So internet really need to be strong. There's also the problem of exchange rates, problems, because if, for example, we're using digital currency as part of our exchange, for some of you that are doing crypto business, you'll understand it just fluctuates. So if, for example, a contractor tells a client, well, I've completed the job is 2 million. And then as at the time the client has raised the request, it's been approved, it's been transferred. If there is any inflation and it drops and the value is no longer 2 million, for example, if that was what was initiated, then it's not the client's loss. So things around that are still areas, where we need to, kind of look at in terms of blockchain and need to evolve and develop. Then the means and rules for authenticating data needs to be set in place. So who should approve, who shouldn't approve, who should give permission, who shouldn't give permission. These are some of the things that are important. And most importantly, we as QSs, we need to be people that are trained in blockchain technology. We really need it. It's very, very important. So what next? If somebody asks me, ask yourself, do you really need blockchain for within your organization, if it's a private blockchain, or within the project? These are some of the questions to ask. Do you need shared access? Do you trust every single person that should be organization that should be involved? Do you need a bank? If you don't need a bank in between, yes, you can think of blockchain. What type of transaction? Is it public or is it private? Would you need permission? These are some of the key things that we need to look at when we're looking at applying blockchain and embracing it in terms of our QS practices. So finally, what we need to understand is that we as QSs need to embrace technology. We need to have the right knowledge. We need to develop the skills for it. We need to have the right attitude to accept it as something that is going to change our practice. We need to be able to use it to manage people. We need to be able to use it to improve the process. And I believe that blockchain has come to stay, and we just need to make ourselves up to date with it. And thanks to you for the time for listening to me. And if there are any questions, I'm gladly happy to share them. Thank you. Yeah. So I think Tola, you're muted.
Sorry about that. So wow, this is a very, very good presentation. This is very, very interesting. And I really appreciate the effort you have put into this. This contains a lot of information, and one of the reasons why we need to, as quantity surveyors and probably as an institute, we need to probably push the use of this system. Dr. Loveland, I'm very, very grateful. Let me allow you have a sip of water. We'll come back with, okay, TB Odubi is here. Yeah, over to you, Bisola.
Okay, I apologize again for the connectivity problem. I think it's also one of the things now we can
Yeah,
thank
these
you,
are part
Dr.
of the
Lovely. It's been an
challenges.
insightful. It felt like a classroom, The words were just going gradually, explanatory. I really did appreciate when you talked about some key features of blockchain, audacity. I think, like you described, who a client is, these are core areas that everyone in the industry here and abroad would want to really be keen at looking into. And then the fact collaboration is always involved.
I think that's part of the challenges of blockchain. We need to work on that.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. Um, let's allow you to have a glass sip of water. We'll come back with the questions. Yeah. We've got a representative of NIQS president, person of QS Solar Yemi Shunubi. He has sent an very good member of the NEC and cabinet to represent him to, give us some thoughts about what we are doing today. Join me, welcome Secretary International Affairs, in person of QS Bolaji today. You're welcome, QS Bolaji. You can please unmute.
All right, super. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, I can hear you. You're welcome.
All right, QS Kemtaladu. Thank you, and good afternoon to everyone. Let me start by offering the sincere apologies from the president of the Nigerian Institute of Quantity Surveyors, QS Michael Olaimi Shonubi, who up until this morning had to get on another national assignment on behalf of the Institute. He sends his regards and his apologies um, um, in that manner. And generally, his message to everybody is one of, first and foremost, appreciation to the YQSF forum in general, and particularly as regards to the diaspora special group for always being at the forefront of innovation and practice of quantity surveying, all right, in terms of global representation and aligning whatever is being done here in Nigeria with global standard, global practice. He appreciates that a lot and sends his warmest regards and thanks to YQSF in general. As a body, as an institute, generally, the whole aura and the whole personnel of the current National Executive Council is to see ways to continuously improve the practice of quantity surveying, the profession, not just locally within Nigeria, but also putting us in a situation whereby we can compete globally with all other professionals in the built environment across the world. So that is part of the vision that current NEC has, and what YQSF Diaspora is putting together channels and emphasizes that particular vision. So it's grateful, and the NEC is in full support of what is going on, and do hope that we all are able to learn a lot from it. You can't in any way take away technology from what is happening. You can't in any way say you are a current professional, even the quantity surveying, without you having a full grasp and understanding of technology, as it were. It's taken over everywhere. And the presentation from QS Ayodeji, okay, and QS Lovely, not be both doctors, all right, speaks to the fact that, see, the profession is going far and wide, and we need everybody to be at par. Yes, the young quantity surveyors are championing this process, but we also need those of us who are elderly, who are seasoned in the profession, to begin to find a way to collaborate more with our young professionals who appear to have the hands-on this technology. So we can't but find another way to collaborate further between the young and the old, to see how technology can be brought into play, how we can begin to develop processes so that our existing professionals and can merge with the new ones, and we can meet the challenge that is coming ahead of us. Everything is being automated, all right, from your site worker coming into the site and signing in, getting a record of what's going on site, to your suppliers coming also to the blockchain. All right, so it's innovative, and it is currently being practiced. Right, to say we are discussing it now, there cannot be a better time for it, because it's actually happening in some other areas. So generally, the NEC will encourage that we keep improving in all that we do, particularly technology-wise. And once again, want to say a big thank you to the Young QSF Forum in general for always being at the frontiers of bringing such innovative topical issues to the forefront. And of course, the Diaspora Special Group. NIQS as a body will keep doing all it can to promote the interests of our members, both nationally and also locally. We're happy that our members in the diaspora are able to coordinate themselves and share their knowledge with us. And we'll keep doing all we can to bring that ideas and the capacity building also back to us here for us to improve on. So thank you everyone once again, and I do wish you the very best as we continue the rest of the program. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, QS Balaji Shetunji, Secretary International Affairs and NIQS. We're very grateful for taking up this assignment on behalf of NIQS President. Uh, as quantity surveyors, as youthful quantity surveyors, we are ready to collaborate. We're ready to be part of the chain. It might not be practice chain now. It might be, moving the institute to the next level, and more of this we're going to bring up to everyone. Thank you very much, and God bless you. Let's go for a short break. Have a glass cup of water, then thereafter we'll come for question and answers. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. I hope you have grabbed some food items. Take some sip. Let's go to question and answers now. Um, Bisola, are you available now? Okay, kindly unmute. All right, while we are still waiting for Bisola, I will want Dr. Lovelin and Dr. Ayodeji to kindly come up as well. So we'll be taking some questions. Yeah, thank you very much. Before the questions, I want to say a very big thank you for that those information packed sessions. They were really really great. We have learned a great deal, and from the comment section, we've seen a lot of comments come up from everyone. I will particularly show the one from Dr. Femi Balogun, who has always followed us. So thank you, Dr. Okay, for the brilliant presentation. I enjoy every bit of your presentation. My comment
Can you
actually is
hear
not
me?
to. Yes, we can hear you now. Um, it's a comment. We have perfectly covered every issue concerning what blockchain is and what it can do. If in doubt, please go through the presentation and comments of Dr. Oke again and that of other colleagues. like Dr. Lawumi at Edinburgh Napier University in Scotland. What I believe we need to do now in order to build on the foundation that Dr. Oke and others have mentioned. And regarding the other presentation, he mentioned that, I think I displayed that earlier. Yeah, another fantastic presentation from Dr. Obi. Thank you very much. Several others persons have given their kudos to your presentations. We're very grateful for that. Bisola, over to you. You're ready.
Yeah, thank you. I think there was a question on YouTube asking what programming skills would a quantity surveyor need to pick up, yeah, for the uptake of blockchain technologies, if there's a need.
Okay, yeah, I know. I think Dr. Lovely will answer that question better. But of course, programming skills, I think it should start from understanding what quant surveying is all about. I think that's the most important. Dr. Lovely mentioned a lot of aspects of quant surveying. So if you don't know what aspect to apply what to, I think you will just be there. So the first thing is to understand what quant surveying is all about, understand different aspects of quant surveying, and the rest. When you are done with that, and we can go for blockchain. There are so many of them, like the issue of smart contracts. But of course, what I advise is that you should not just limit yourself to blockchain as a technology. I will first advise that such a person needs to first understand different technologies available around the world around us. Dr. Lovely mentioned issue of Internet of Things, now talking about Internet of Everything, smart contracts, and the rest of them. Because I will not advise a QS to go into coding, except you want to go into website design or the software programming as it is. But this thing has been
Oh,
designed by some people. Just like when we are using BIM for our practice, somebody is now saying, how do I learn BIM? Except you want to like bring up another BIM. It's just to like bring it up, understand what it's all about, see where you can use it, and find a way to adopt it in your own stuff. But income programming skills, of course, at the same time, I want to say that it's not bad if you learn as many programs. I don't even know which one to recommend because there are lots of programming skills. But most important thing is to understand what you want to do as a QS and to understand the area you are. Possibly you're a consultant QS, possibly you're a contractor QS, you need it more for payments, need it more for this side because there are different blocks. So you need to master the blocks that you are going to be using. You can't master all the blocks at the same time. So I think that's that for my hand. I know Dr. Lovely will help me more in time as far as that.
I can't hear you.
you're muted, Ma.
Yeah, sorry. I think Dr. Oke has actually listed it all. It's just like me telling you to go and learn Python or C++, which are some of the apps, software that they use. So it's more about familiarizing with any of the transfer apps or smart contract apps that are available. You always have those that are developers that actually do that. But there could be little trainings on how to use smart contracts. It could be like a workshop or maybe a day training. You can go for some of those ones. You can learn some of the skills, but you really need to understand, for example, JCT contracts and how to apply it. So it's just knowing the basic skills and how to apply it within the environment. And then any other thing will just be additional because there are people that are already coding different apps for it. Some of them are plugins that you just need to use. So that's just it. Does that help?
Yeah, I think that is just to buttress the point that the basics remain the basics.
Exactly.
We must understand the basics of, so the fact that you are employing or you are employing blockchain system in your practice doesn't mean you are doing away with the knowledge of QSs you have. You will still be doing what you know how to do as a quantity surveyor, but you just need the systems to better your practice. I believe that is what both speakers said. Yeah, Bisola.
Yeah, there was also another question from YouTube. Please give me some minutes. It's too bright here. I need to lower my window blind.
All right, no worries. Let me take the second question here then. Um, That was from me, though. Yeah, that was a great presentation, Dr. Okay. This
Thank
question
you.
goes to you. If the use of blockchain is going to massively reduce the use of labor on construction sites, what will that not affect the contribution of construction industry to economic development, being one of the industries with higher employability rate?
Ah, well, that's a good question. You know, this question has been coming up right from the time we enter into the third revolution. When internet came, people were asking, when computer came, computer will take over our job, we will not do anything anymore. But the fact remains that we are still working, even as QS. Then people thought that computer will just start doing things on its own. Even the secretaries, they thought that computer will just come and start typing on its own, you know, as if it's going to take away their job. But today, I think what is required of us is just to advance. I think that's the most important thing. For the labor, you know, in the industry, you cannot take away labor completely. I mean, we are still going to have unskilled laborers. For instance, when the issue of the robots was coming in, people were feeling like, oh, when once robots come, that's the end. But the question I ask is, robots cannot just be on its own. Somebody must have computerized the robot. Somebody must be there to actually work on the robot. You understand? But the truth remains that it's going to cut the unskilled laborers' work. But if you are cutting the unskilled laborer work, the fact remains that you are increasing work for some other people. So that means the onus is now on each and every one of us to actually upskill and upgrade ourselves. That's the most important. It won't reduce the job opportunity. Of course, the essence of this is that we want to improve production project performance. And we can't continue to use the same skill. We can't be doing things the same way and expect the same result. So things have to change. So if things are changing, what is the onus now lies on me as a person, as an individual in the industry, also change with the tides of things. That's the most important thing. We can't tell the industry to stay where it is. It must move. So that means the most important thing, I must move with the industry. And I believe that will actually reduce the contribution of the industry to the economy. In fact, it will increase the productivity as well as the performance of the industry at the end overall. So the fear should not be entertained. I think the most important thing is to actually move with the tide. And Dr. Lobby was saying something the other time. People should be trained, even right from the unskilled laborers level. They can do little things. For instance, she was talking about the issue of your card, seamless card and the rest. And unskilled laborers should know how to operate such. As I'm coming in, where do I slide my card? How do I enter my details? You know, those little details. With that, you are not actually out of the job. It's just about upskilling and upgrading ourselves. And I think that's what is more necessary. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. Over to you, Bisola.
There was a comment earlier on, I can't really pick from what social media that was. So just asking for networking opportunities with the presenters. And I think that's easy. You can always reach out to them on their LinkedIn profile or their university website. It's not that difficult. Yeah, I think I've helped that person. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
Oh, okay, okay. I was just thinking of adding something to Dr. Oke's comment about employability and then labor. I think the best description would also mean that your job role changes. It doesn't entirely wipe out your relevance. Like he mentioned about upskilling, you just need to go fit in somewhere else. And also, when it comes to this fear that um, a team feels, I feel it's the work of persons in positions like HR, like managers, like talent acquisition officers to think about this problem ahead of time and reassure them that you're not necessarily losing your job if you upskill and then change your job role. And upskilling necessarily is not a waterfall process. It takes time too. So there should also be that allowance for that period where you need to get all of these skills in place. Yeah, that's just a contribution
Yes,
from my side.
I just wanted to add something. It's not a place to fear. For example, I'm actively in the research for offsite construction, and you will still see a lot of I call it I don't know why I can use the word on skill because they have kind of lent the process of working within manufacturing environments to develop some of the walls that would eventually go to site to be installed. So there's still, you know, not professionals basically, but in the process of learning to work in a different way, they have upskilled themselves from just becoming general laborers to laborers that can work within off-site environment. So it's still the same thing, but they're no longer doing it in a real on-site procedure or process or environment, but that then becomes inside factories, and they need to understand how to use those machines, to develop or build up new walls or roofs. So it's still the same process. It's just about upskilling. So there's no need to feel like, oh, you know, that's just what I wanted to contribute.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you very much.
So may I add something from my hand too?
Okay.
Yeah, since this actually has to do with young quantity surveyors, I just want to encourage, especially students anyway. You know, that's the sector I belong to. I just want to encourage students to not just depend on what they are being taught in the classroom at this stage. I mean, there are a lot of software you can learn. In fact, from now, nothing stops you from learning the basic surveying software. It starts from there. Don't just stick with where you are. For instance, now that we are on strike, you know, I've been encouraging people around me, especially students, go and learn something new. If you are not fixed to a particular company now, go online, go to LinkedIn. There are free webinars, free software training. You can start from there. And I'm sure that by the time you upgrade yourself, even this blockchain we are talking about, you can start developing something in that line on your own. That who knows tomorrow, Google can actually come around, or Microsoft, and like, oh, this is a good one. Let's buy this actually from you. So I want to say that it has to do with individual. Personally, you need to develop yourself as young quantity surveyors. The same is applicable to us as well anyway, but most especially for the young QS, that is the need to develop ourselves. Thank you.
Sorry,
Yeah.
let me quickly ask a question really. The reality
Um,
is, I don't think everyone can be technologically savvy in terms of learning how to put all of these codes in process. For some persons, perhaps they fit into the managerial aspect. So, what would you say for persons who have managerial skills that do not necessarily have to learn the techniques, learning how to put in all of the sometimes it's abstract for some persons, and yet they still have to be in the tech world. So what do you have to say briefly before Kes Bolaji takes the floor?
Okay. To be honest, I'm not. I love technology as well, but I'm not. I don't code things. So, like I do tell people, it's all about garbage in, garbage out. Somebody writes what needs to be coded. So this is how you want to manage the project. This is how the process you want. This is the stage you want each payment to happen. These are the milestones. You draft how you want it, and then another person that is very good in coding will code that into a smart contract for you if that's what you're scared of. So everybody is about collaboration. So I'm good at this, you're good at this. We all bring our qualities together, and then we push it through. Remember, there are people that are in construction informatics. You know, before they were basically more on statistics and mathematics, but they're bringing in mathematics and statistics into the construction industry. So sometimes they are very much, you know, thrived by coding and all of that. We kind of do management. We then give management, this is how we want it to run, and then they're happy to do that. So it's about the team, and you will always have those set of people within the team. Does that help to answer the question?
Super.
yes, yes. QS Bolaji, please, you have the floor.
All right, thank you. Lovely discourse and questions. I just want to touch on one or two things. And firstly, right, I think we should try and bring the whole, let's try and bring it home, right? It appears that the idea of hearing blockchain, having technology, a lot of people are thinking it's quite something that's very, very difficult, right? You setting up an alarm to wake up at 6 a.m., it's a way of you trying to put up some form of blockchain, right? You want to do something, how can I automate it in such a way that it becomes a seamless process? So think about everything you want to do in your project. And I think QS, I think was it QS okay, that alluded to the fact that it makes, no, let me not hear. I'm talking about the project management side of things. It helps you really, really manage your project more seamlessly, right? So think about everything you need to do from a primary perspective, or even as a QS, right? Once I have a drawing, what are the first few things I need to do when I have a drawing? Okay, how do I make sure I develop in code a taking off lift in an automate it in such a way that it can prompt me that after doing the foundation, you want to do the block wall, you want to do this. So whatever it is that you do in the manual sense, finding a way to automate it is also still in the idea of trying to find a blockchain system of working out things. So don't think as if you need to go and learn the coding, you need to go and learn the technology. There are people who can do the coding for you, right? Now, we'll talk about more about what the institutes can do. It's another thing to hear about these things. It's also another thing for you to be within a market and environment that actually utilizes the system. What happens here, particularly in this our hand, is that a lot of our clients or engagements that we have within this country, this client, this part of the world, have not really fully embraced this. Okay, a lot of us are hearing about blockchain technology, not because it is new. There's something that's been existing, but it is now beginning to come into limelight here. We have people who are already doing printing, using technology to print building houses and all that. That is not happening here. So in a way, yes, we can learn about these things, but when it comes to practicalizing and actual usage here, we are still a little bit not there. But we can begin to learn and in our own little ways, find a way to automate. So as a whole, and the institute can do, we can keep doing this advocacy like things we have here. But again, it all starts from the academics itself, the institution itself. What is the process with which we're actually training our members? Okay, what is the process even our lecturers or academians are using in their school? Okay, are they actually embracing technology, right? How many of us are using computer systems, technology in training for our professions back in our schools? So you can see that there's a gap and there's no clear-cut policy again that will mandate everybody to say, oh, you must use blockchain, you must use BIM, you must use that. So we need to give room to all those kind of things. But what we can do, and like the DG of QS Academy has also encouraged us to do, is to keep finding a way to bring all these ideas back here, find a way at our level to encourage people beyond the academics until we're able to deal with the curriculum, deal with what people are being taught in school within our own space. How can we begin to bring this knowledge down to people? How can we begin to try their hands, let them know what's going on out there? Because we are going to be competitive internationally. These are the kind of languages people are speaking there. So we need to do our bit. But the core of it is going back to the basics, making sure that part of what we are being taught is adhered to technology. Also begin to find ourselves within a system that actually utilizes those knowledge. There's no point in teaching people something when they don't necessarily have the projects that they can implement it on, right? So there are gaps here and there, but again, we won't keep speaking and we'll keep encouraging people. And God being our helper, I'm sure we'll get there. Thank you all once again.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, that was a good one. Bissell, over to you to other questions we have.
Yeah, I think we've exhausted question list. I can't see anyone. Can you?
Um, yes, there is a question here, and I think this
Alright.
goes to Dr. Loveling. With automation and immutability in blockchain system, how do parties address extension of time or delay that the client is responsible for?
So it's how do I put it now? It's raising up another transaction. So if there's going to be a delay, there has to be a transaction that comes up. So there's a notification, there's a delay, there's a consensus, there's an agreement. Okay, this delay, are you approving an extension of time? If that approves an extension of time, that feeds back into the smart contract. It's just that probably will need to be rewritten again. That's one of the parts that, is still trying to evolve so fast. That might mean rewriting the smart contract codes to then accommodate the changes that have been introduced as a result of the changes of delay or extension of time that has been approved on the project.
All right. Dr.
So
Oke, do you
it's
have
just
anything?
about you just have to create a new block for it and introduce that into the chain again. Now, Dr. Oke, I don't know
Exactly.
if
I was about to say that. No, exactly. I was about to talk about the issue of block. You know, it's about different blocks. So whatever happens is just to bring in another block into the chain. So it can accommodate as many blocks as possible. So if there is a delay and we all agree, that's bringing in a new block and we start concurrently editing whatever that block is bringing. So I think it's permissible. Anything can come in as much as all the parties agreed to it.
Agree to
Just like
it.
Dr. Lovely was saying. Once we agree, then that's another block. So to now agree for how long, what's the cause of delay? She was talking about large the other time. What about the and certain damages? How is it going to come in now? Delay is coming from the client, from the contractor. What's the cause? It's just about introducing a block, and I want to believe that will be solved. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. There is another similar question here. With automated system of blockchain, any provision for fair hearing between parties in construction?
Yes. It doesn't stop the practices that we already have. It just comes to improve our practices. That there is blockchain doesn't mean that there wouldn't be site meetings if it's necessary, project meetings if they are necessary, any other thing that we've been doing before now. It's just that we're introducing this aspect of technology to enhance our performance. That's just what it is, basically. So even if in the process of, remember, you're sending out transactions for them to be authenticated. The authentication is your digital signature to say, well, I agree to this. You can decide to call for a meeting before the authentication happens, if you want to further discuss the issue before you can authenticate. So I send money to somebody, for example, the person can decide to call me first before accepting, to say, why did you send this money to me? So it's about all of that, and then just fastening the process. That's what blockchain is trying to introduce and supporting. If that helps to make sense.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Um, the next question I think is one Dr. Oke to attempt this. Can blockchain be used for every project, or are there exemptions?
Well, I think that is a straightforward question. Yes, for any kind of project. It just depends on who is involved, how do you want to bring in blockchain, to what level. Then of course there are so many factors anyway. You also looked at the people, the stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders? You know, are they set of people that will be willing to get involved? For instance, you want to start from pre-construction, and architect is not ready to get involved. Of course, for such a project, is a no, because if the most, one of the important stakeholder is not ready to get involved, then what's the point? Or if the client decided, I'm not going to be paying, I'm going to be paying you cash. For such a project, when it comes to payment, that one is a no. So of course, blockchain can be used for all kind of projects, but with condition. Once the conditions are met, then there's no problem. You can go ahead. There are no exceptions.
All right. I will leave both of you with this question. Understanding blockchain as a common platform for professionals to operate on transactions, somehow similar to BIM, though with augmented reality. So, how do we compare or relate blockchain technology with BIM? Let me take Dr. Loveland first.
Okay, so BIM is about modeling information. So I also want to understand the BIM you mean here. Is it building information modeling or building information management? Which one are you talking about? If that
Well,
clarity can come in first.
I
all
think
right.
he's
So,
talking
Let's look
about
at
modeling.
modeling.
okay,
Yeah,
fine.
I
So
think he's
modeling.
talking
So
about
you
modeling.
have all that information regarding the project that needs to be executed. Yes. Now, it's just information that supports the graphical and non-graphical data. So you're looking at the specifications we need to use. You're looking at the designs itself, what we need to construct. but it stops there. Now, BIM, if you've got blockchain integrating, it goes beyond that. So with blockchain is about having record keeping. Blockchain facilitates the efficiency of BIM, if that makes sense. So you can combine the two to be able to enable proper information management, giving permissions, not just to those involved in the project. It can pull out beyond those that are involved in the project as well. So it allows you to manage and keep track of data at every single time. So I would say, in very simple terms, it's like a plugin, if that makes sense. Yeah, so to enhance that performance, so you can have, for example, building information modeling will not kick in your smart contract for you, no. However, you can use the information from building information modeling to link to your smart contract to trigger payments or something like that. So it's more like something fitting in to enhance, the performances of things that we are putting in the BIM model, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you very much. Any thoughts from Dr. Okay?
Yeah, I think that's just it. All this technology, they are interrelated. You also mentioned augmented reality. I mean, you can't be talking about all of these things without everything. I still boils down to here, artificial intelligence. When you have BIM, information modeling, just like the name is, but it's not everything. It cannot solve all the problems. You still have to like integrate another technology from different aspects to make the whole thing, susceptible. I talked about the issue of sustainability as well. So BIM cannot do it alone. As you are bringing in blockchain, of course, now people are even bringing the issue of cyber physical system even into BIM. You understand? So you can bring in other plugins just to make the whole thing, successful. So we can actually use the two together. I don't think there's any problem with that. Just understand where to bring it in and for what purpose am I bringing it in. Then you also look at the issue of compatibility. You understand the coding. If I'm bringing this in, it's going to be compatible with the initial program. Do I need to like edit a part of the program, which may not be able to do? But of course, I think it's doable. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think I will leave the floor for Bisola now.
Okay, I was on the other social media handles looking out for questions or comments. I didn't find any. Okay, yeah, I don't have any further questions. I'll just ask that you give us some key take homes. What would you want us to reflect on as students, undergraduates, postgraduates, early stage researchers, and business enthusiasts? What will be your word of advice for us? Let me start with ladies first, Dr. Dublin.
Okay, the world is changing. It's about thriving. It's about standing out. I'm always of the opinion that as a QS, everything fits into what we're doing because we sit on very, very important aspect of industry, contract and costs. There is nothing you're dealing with, you don't deal with costs. There's nothing you're dealing with in an industry that contract doesn't come in. So if there are things that are out there, for example, blockchain, building information modeling, augmented reality, Internet of Things, that are technology driven, which is where we're really, really going. We just need to embrace them. Our attitude is what is most important. Now, people will say we hire for attitude, we train for skills. What they're talking about is, do you have the attitude to embrace change? A lot of changes are coming in, fast coming in into the industry. And we need to have the right mindset, even when we don't know it, to take a chance to learn in them. Let's not be, when I started out and I was looking at technology, I used to say, oh, am I going to be doing coding? Why do I need to do this? But after a long while, I don't need to. I just need to understand how it works. and then draft out how I want that particular project or program to run. And then there's always a team that is able to pull those resources together in terms of the technology. But if you don't know it, how then will you tell them what you intend them to do? That's one key aspect. Moving forward again, another aspect is we need to, I think it's also something that institutes can also do, to start creating, I call it pilot studies, using live projects. Sometimes they can be very small projects. It can just be a room within a project that institutes can, and good well-wishers within the institute can support, to just say, how do we run this? Can we have a demonstration of this thing? Once we capture the knowledge, we can then filter it down, even whether to academia, to other people, come bring workshops where we can show them how this thing works. However, sometimes when we talk about so much of theories, people don't really appreciate it because they've not been a part of the experience. So having some of those demonstration exercises where we can just have one simple room built. This is how it worked with Beam. This is how we connected Beam to blockchain. Yes, something very some that can create that experience, and we can capture that knowledge and filter it down to different people that will need it within the QS profession, is also a good way to, support how we can develop our understanding as individuals and our strength as an institute. So in all of that, be open, keep your heart open, have the attitude, and you know what, just go for it. Go for it. Don't have any limitation. Go for it. Go for it. You'll be surprised. It's very simple. It is very, very simple. So that's just for me. That's just from me. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Go for it and stand out. Thank you so much, Dr. Loveling. Yeah, Dr. Okay. Your turn.
Yeah, let me just speak Paul, from where she stopped. I just want to say that as much as possible for us in this part of the world and in this profession, there are two things we should pay attention to. Of course, they are interwoven. Now we are talking about technology. The other thing is the sustainability. You know, you can't be a quantity surveyor that will be relevant in this age and in this world, that understanding the concept of sustainability. And in fact, you know that one of the four legs, gone are the days when we talked about three legs. I mean, the most one of the important, if not the important leg of sustainability, has to do with technology. So if you want to be relevant in this current age and current dispensation, my counsel is that don't don't limit yourself, don't stay where you are, learn new things. New things are coming up every day. I was in class, I think last month, just before the strike, and I was teaching my students about Internet of Things and the rest. I got home, I was listening to a tech news on France 24, and I just discovered that there is something referred to as Internet of Everything. I got back to class the following, I was like, see, Internet of Things is past. Let's start talking about Internet of Everything. So you just have to learn, just have to keep on moving. Gone are the days we talked about virtual reality, augmented reality. Now we talked about extended reality, not even mixed anymore. So I want to counsel us that we should just move with the tide, understand what is happening around us, and with that, I'm sure we'll be fine. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Keep evolving, keep improving. Thank you, Dr. Okay. Yeah, Jamtolado. You
Yeah,
have
thank you. I'll have to take you to the backstage now. I will join you there very soon. Thank you very much for your time, for the lessons. I'll take you to the backstage. I will meet you in a jiffy. Um, what a session! What a session! It's just as if I should have a third session. How do you feel, Bisa?
I mean, it's just like I said earlier on, knowledge is something you really have to dig deep before you can get them. And we're highly favored now to have experts who are willing to share from their word of experience and even encourage us to go further than they are even seeing. So it's been an insightful conversation. It is an insightful conversation, even though it could look overwhelming sometimes, if you would agree with me, that Dr. Oke was saying. Just some days before, he thought it was Internet of Things. And then some hours later, I saw that it's Internet of Everything. And he went back to class to tell them, oh, guys, I think it has evolved. And then you might want to say, can I even keep up with all of this? Yes, you can. Like it was said earlier on, you stay with the basics and you build up on that. For me, I really did enjoy this session, and we retained the sweetest for the end, you know. So
Yeah,
we're
yeah, yeah, yeah.
progressing from sweet, 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 and it's been a wonderful time from the beginning of the session till now.
And will we say that is the end? I will say no, that's not the end, though we've come to the grand finale of e-business and quantity surveying practice. And the next shot we are looking at is actually concentrating on the students, undergraduates and probably postgraduates. And this is called Art and Science of Writing Ethical Research. And this is one of the things some of our speakers have really emphasized on. We had a competition sometimes, I think last 2 months ago or so. And
Yeah.
for undergraduate students, we were able to pick up things that were lacking. And that is why we are coming up with something like a boot camp. And this one is not going to be live streamed by the time it is coming up. Just watch out for flyers. It's going to be like a boot camp on knowing the basics and the arts and the science. It's a combination of art and science, yeah, in writing and ethical research. And we have acronymed it answer. It could be an answer to, the questions you've been asking yourself. And this is going to run from June to November. We've contacted our speakers. They are ready to come on board, and we're still seeking for speakers as well to take us on some topics. So watch out for flyers if you're a student, undergraduate, postgraduate, early researcher. This could be an information session for you. And yes, in rounding up, some there are some programs that are coming up on the international radar that you could be part of. If you are in Canada, CIQS Congress is coming up in June, and you can just have a benefit there. ISEC Congress 2022 is coming up in June as well, and that is going to be in um what's the name of this country? I forgot. So quick.
I think it's
Holland.
planned.
Yeah, yeah, it's coming up in Holland. If you are in that axis, you can check out the website for HiSec, and you see more information there. Also, FIG Congress is in September, and this time around is in at Poland. You can start saving your beats. If you want to attend that Poland. So all these things are just to educate us. Like it has been said, technology cannot replace us. They can only enhance our performance. So why not giving it a thought, a go, learn something new. And I would like to round up with some of the comments from listeners out there. Opayemi saying thanks so much, Dr. Oke and Dr. Lovely. This has been a great presentation from the two presenters. Um, Good Hamad Mudi. It is very enjoyable and it's such that's full of knowledge and experience. Thank you all. Um, Dr. Taiwo Aduloju, insightful deliveries. Thank you and well done. Mrs. Esther Oluwafunke-Olade. Thanks, Dr. Okay. To be relevant in this current dispensation, we must continue to evolve. We should go for it, just as Dr. Loveland advised. Go for it. Again, people are making out words from this, and I'm liking it. Thanks to the duo, thanks to the organizers. And finally, um, group, can we get previous webinar class online? If you registered for each of those webinars, you'll get a video. But if not, you can contact me. It's going to be for a token. As YQSF, we need money to run most of these things. So if you need this video and you didn't register for those sessions, you're going to pay just a token for you to be able to, grasp the fullness of it. Bisola, Your parting words.
I was just thinking about the hard to write. That's the answer program that is forthcoming.
Yeah.
Writing is beyond academia, really. We all write. It might be for reports, it might be for some things that are not technical. So don't think it's just academic. Don't think, oh, I have to write in a journal paper or a conference. So I'm not really keen on doing stuff like that. So I won't be registering. No, you need to learn how to write. It's as simple as what sentences should look like, simple sentences, how to make your words come together. So I encourage everyone really to give this a shot and yeah, spread the good news. Yeah, my parting word would be that it's been an enjoyable session. I'm glad I'm part of this, and I do hope we would have some more volunteers really to be moderators for YQSF across. I've been doing this for a long time since an undergraduate. I'd like to have some protege, people coming up to and doing better that I've done. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we'll see to that very, very, very soon. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for everything that you've been contribute. I'll send it to the backstage. I will join you in a jiffy. Yeah, and on this note, we are rounding up on webinar 5. We promised 5 webinar series, and with the organizing team and with your support, we've been able to deliver the 5 webinar series, and it has been impactful. I want to say thank you to all the speakers. I want to say thank you to all the listeners. And most importantly, I want to say thank you to the organizing committee. They were working voluntarily and with all efforts to ensure that we bring the best out of every session. Thank you very much, and we shall see some other time. Have a lovely day, a lovely night, whichever one you are. Thank you. See ya.